Here we go. So if you're just tuning in, we're about to just have a look at a simple, if you can read the description there on the live, I'm just going to be doing a simple Rae Dunn style coffee sign, and all I'm going to use is this painted board that's I've pre-painted white, and I should have put in the description there, the length of the board, but someone's going to be asking me that, aren't you? And I didn't have my tape measure, so I'm just going to use my ruler. Now, trying to speak in inches. Is that correct? I'm from Australia, if you can't already tell. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining and for letting me know where you're from. There's people from all over the world watching in. Mostly the good old USA though, I see. All right, so this board is approximately, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and a half inches long. That's the board I'm working on today. And I've just painted it plain white, because we're going to be making a coffee sign. So I've just got a bit of paper here that I'm going to be showing you how you can line up these words and measure things. All of the links to the stencil set that I'm using today are in the description there, or later on Essential might pop them in the comments. But I'm actually using these skinny letters, it says on here. So it's called the 2-inch skinny letter set. And I've got the link there. If you use my code IRestoreStuff, remember that you get 10% off anything that you purchase in the online store at Essential Stencil. So it's a 2-pack. Let me show you what it looks like. So they're the skinny letters. And if you're familiar and like the Rae Dunn decor, then that's what it kind of looks like. So here we go, the alphabet in those gorgeous, fun, skinny letters, thin letters. And we do also have hashtag, brackets, and percent, and all of the numbers there. Oh, question mark, exclamation mark over here as well. So those are what we're working with today. Now, sometimes people have a little trouble trying to measure out, how am I going to measure those letters exactly right for my signboard? So I'll show you some of my best tips and tricks. And I thought we'd have some fun with some little card tags that we could use for Father's Day is coming up. Please let me know. So I'm from Australia. Our Father's Day is actually celebrated in September. I believe it's the first or second. I think it's the first Sunday in September. But in the USA, I'm going to be watching the comments. Someone's going to tell me, when is Father's Day in the USA? I know it's June. My husband was born in America, so you know what? He tries to get away with 2 Father's Days. I'm like, no, buddy, just one. It's okay. He tries to get away with 2. And his father-in-law actually lives in Australia too. He's American. And so they try and let us know that they need 2 Father's Days. So it's this Sunday. Oh my goodness. June 21. Okay. And not only to top that off, it's actually Marty's birthday on the 22nd. So it's his birthday on Monday. So sometimes it's really close to that American Father's Day. So honestly, we do have and celebrate his Father's Day here in Australia in September. So we have Father's Day for Marty and and his dad. Yeah, Melissa's on, and from Miller's Rustic Sawmill. Hi, Melissa. She's saying Marty Smarty Pants. Yeah, trying to get away with 2 Father's Days. Come on, can you believe it? And his birthday on Monday. Whatever. Okay, so yep, it's this Sunday, the 21st. There you go. So last minute Father's Day ideas, this actually is for you. So you've still got some time. We will make a little gift tag, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Now, I was going to use paint today to stencil. I'm not going to be using paint, so stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for the prizes, because at the end, you know, we always give away some Essential Stencils, just by randomly choosing some lovely comments there from your wonderful comments that come scrolling up the screen. So keep them coming, and every now and then I'll pop over and have a look and pick some names. So, as I said, what did I say, 19 and a half inches this board is that I'm working on today. I'll turn the camera down so you can kind of see how I measure all this out. First, does anyone's dad or husband love coffee? I know I do. We're coffee connoisseurs in our house. Coffee snobs, I think you would probably call us. It's my husband's fault. I'll blame him. Anyway, so out of this, I just thought it'd be fun to make a coffee sign. You could use this for a Father's Day idea, or you could just use it for your house or put it above your coffee station, or make a tea station or something. So, oh, Tracy, I'm so sorry. Yeah, and I know a lot of families, it's a difficult time, these Mother's Days and Father's Days, because your dad may have passed away. So I'm so sorry about that. And I hope that you will spend the day thinking of them and thinking of the beautiful, wonderful memories. So today, let me see. I'll pop this down here. And hopefully, I may have to work upside down, guys, because I'm really not that clever at using letters and spacing the other way around, but I'll try. Someone said Marty and Bucky need to do another stencil off. I hear you, Brenda. Yep, I think it's about that time, Melissa. All right, so with this stencil today, what I'm going to make is the words. Have you seen the sign around? You may have seen it on Pinterest or around Facebook or even in decor stores that says, but first, coffee. So who else needs a coffee first thing in the morning? That's my motto. So I'm going to use the words, but first, coffee. So when we're trying to measure out this, what I like to do is I like to write out those words that I'm using for the sign. So I'm going to write out but first, and we, keep our spaces. Sorry if you can't see this too close, but I am writing it just on the top of my paper here. But first, and I might put a comma right there and then a little space and then coffee, because we have to be grammatically correct. Am I right? And then maybe we'll have room for an exclamation mark at the end. So that's all I've done, is just written my words, oops, there we go, up the top. Now I'm going to count the letters, and I've already pre-counted them because, I didn't want to mess up. I'm right here live on Facebook. So I've pre-counted my letters, and there are in fact 18, including, so when you're counting, count your spaces as well, okay? Kim says, I drink coffee all day long. Yep. Okay, so there's 18 letters. So in adding this all up, what we want to do, we've got 18. So, which is really nice because we've got two even numbers either side of the center line. So we need to mark our center of our board, and I will get my tape measure for that. So just bear with me a second. So half of 18 being 9, we're going to have 9 letters on one side of the center line and 9 letters on the other side of the center line. So measuring out the board here, did I say 17 and a half? 19 and a half inches long it is. Oh guys, now I've got to, okay, I'll use my centimeters because that's a lot easier. It's almost 50 centimetres, and I can work out half of 50 centimetres is 25, so that makes it so much easier to figure out. And I will use a pencil. Oops, 25 centimetres. We're having a little trouble there, keeping my thing up straight. Okay, so 25 is around about here. Just want to put a little pencil mark so that you can barely notice it, but I do have an eraser so that when I'm finished using that, I can put it there. So I've got my halfway mark. On my words that I've written down here, I like to just count in 9. So that's half of the 18. 1, 2, 3. Count the space as 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the T, after the T and before the comma, is going to be our center line. So sometimes this may or may not work, depending on the width of the letters. So with these letters, the letters you can see, obviously letters like I are really super skinny, and the letter H is wider. So when you're counting, and the letter M over here is even wider than the H and other letters. So when you're counting the letters, it is still kind of approximate. So this is just giving us a good idea. So what I want to do, I may even just use my piece of paper first to start with. In fact, I've done one underneath right here. And what I've done is I've pretended that this was half of my board here. And I'm not sure if you can see, but I've practiced lining up. So always, guys, practice on a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard or something like that. So I've practiced lining up my stencil. I've got my center mark right here on my piece of paper. Ooh. And it's right there where the comma is. So I'm going to rule a line so you can see that clearly. And I've actually got my stencil and started with the last letter on my little, remember I counted out here? I've divided my letters that I need in half, and I've got 9 on this side and 9 on that side. So just see how I'm figuring it all out. So my centre line is going to be in between the T and that little comma. You don't have to have a comma, but I think I'm just being a grammar Nazi today, so I'll just put it in there. I'm not using my coffee stencil of the month, Charlene. No, I'm actually using the skinny letter set. So you can get this. The link is, everyone can get this, even if you're not in Stencil of the Month Club, is these skinny letters, which are great for that Rae Dunn style sign, or you can put this on, you know, sugar jars or all the rest of it. So I've counted out. I want to start now with my letter T, because that's the first letter that's on this side of the line, and then I start on this side and go the other way. So what I've done, and I've measured it all out here, is I started with the letter T, got my stencil, and just using my pen, putting it on the paper. So this is my practice to make sure what I'm going to look at is, are my letters, some of them are skinny, some of them are wider, are they really going to be centered out across the board like this? Okay, so I've started with my T, working backwards. We've got the S right next to the T, and you want to kind of make that gap in between the letters fairly consistent all the way around. We've got our R next to that, then I went with I, just using your pen, then the F, and just using your pen, marking the F. Then we need a space, and I've also put the letters T, and then U, and then B. So working backwards with that part of the sign. Here's my centre line. So this is imagine my board. So I'm practicing on here first. Because as you'll see, we've got a space here. We've got that little comma. Now, there's no comma on here. So what I did use, what you can use, is see this question mark up here. See that, just that section right there of the question mark. I just used that. In fact, I turned it upside down, just popped it right here, and just drew that right down there, right after the centre line. Then I've got a space, and then I've spelled out my coffee with a little exclamation mark at the end, because that was part of our count of the letters up to 18. So here's my practice, guys. So see the centre line, see how I've centred that all out. So it kind of does look a little bit like it's got heavier weight on this side of the sign than the other side, doesn't it? So you could sort of move things a little bit across, because there's probably more width to some of these letters, and those the letters on this side, like the exclamation mark, is quite thin. The F, both F letters are quite thin. So yeah, if you've got these skinny letters, great idea for name signs or for great kitchen decor signs, things like that. So we're making a but first coffee sign today. So we've practiced on our piece of paper or cardboard or whatever you want to use until we're sort of happy with the idea of where it's going. So I'm going to line up my centre line here again, where I've got that centre line on the paper, and now we're going to do the real deal. But, however, remember I said I'm not using paint today, I'm actually using something else. So I'll show you in a minute, but what I want to do first is to just mark where these letters are going on here with pencils. So there's my practice. And we're going to just do this on here. So I've got my centre line and just moving. You can go either way. You could do this side first and then this side. But knowing that this side looked a little heavier, I might just move my T just slightly more centre and then start with the comma and then the coffee that way. If you did have extra room on the end here, what is another great idea, which you can use, we may even try this a little bit later, is if you are in the Stencil of the Month Club, there's my coffee designs that I designed are still available in the shop section of the stencilofthemonthclub.com site. So if you're in the Stencil of the Month Club, you can use these cute little coffee beans and coffee symbols to add to the end of your sign. If you wanted to just start here and sort of go here and think, oh, I've finished already, then you can use this space for some of those extra imagery. All right, starting from the center, working backwards, with the T first because we've divided up the letters. Now I'm going to just kind of eyeball this to make sure I've got this edge straight and even. So even though the letters, because they're kind of handwritten letters, they may look a little bit wonky, but try and resist the urge to straighten up the letter, because you want this edge, because it's the nature of the font to be a little crooked. Just make sure that your edge of the actual stencil is in line with the edge of your board. Okay, so I'm looking at my center line and I'm going to move my T just slightly across there, and I'm making sure that it's in about the center of the board here. The top of the T and the bottom of the T. And what I'm going to do is just use a pencil to actually draw the lines for the T, trying to keep in the center of the actual stencil gap. And just note that the RST are the last letters in the word first, which is really handy because you just have to move the letters slightly then. So now I'm going with the S. Now, they are sort of different heights because, again, it's one of those handwritten fonts. It's not one of those fonts like Helvetica or one of those others that have really standard size, standard width, all of that kind of thing. So I hope this is helpful to some of you. Let us know. Sorry, I'm missing some of the comments there, but thank you so much. What is that stencil called? The one with the coffee beans. Now that is from the Stencil of the Month Club. So you'll only find this if you're in the Stencil of the Month Club. So that's the one that I created back in February. Was that this year? It seems like forever ago, February. It is. And so that is still in the shop section. And it was for February. So you'll find it under February in the shop, or coffee in that Stencil of the Month Club shop, not the Essential Stencil page. I just thought I wanted to mention that for the stencil clubbers. And if you're not in the Stencil of the Month Club, it's never too late to join. I think we are on the June stencils being offered in there at the moment, which are the 4th of July themed ones. Okay, so we've got the S, and you will get $5 off your first month if you haven't joined yet, and you use my code iRestoreStuff. So use that with both the Stencil of the Month Club and the Essential Stencil website. The other link that I did put for you up there in the description of the live is the brand new stencils that have just arrived in the online shop at essentialstencil.com, and they are available for pre-order. So make sure you click on that link and have a look at all the gorgeous designs that are available there. Oh, there's so many, I can't even begin. Who's got a favourite? Let me know in the comments. If you've already been to see some of those pre-orders, I want to see some of the favourites that you're seeing in there. There are some really good ones. Okay, so we've got our R and our S and our T. The next letter we want is I. So just measuring again, just eyeballing. You can measure if you like, but I'm just trying to eyeball, make sure those letters are fairly consistent. Now I'm doing this in pencil so I can erase it if I make a really big mistake. But it is a handwritten font, so it's supposed to have that look about it, you know. Wouldn't it be terrible if I spelt the whole thing wrong? But that's why I write my letters down here, and you can even cross them off as you go. So I've done the R and I've done the I, now I'm doing the F, okay? So I don't mess up. It's a great idea to just write it all down and lay it out like that on a piece of paper. So we've got first, now I need a gap between that and the T. So next is our T. We've got a bit of a space. And at this stage, we've just got the T, the U and the B. So we're making the word but. And I'm just eyeballing, making sure, yes, we do have enough room. So we're going well. I've got my gap here. And just again, lining up the bottom base of your stencil with, oh yes, they have camping ones. Hang on, I'm missing your comments. You're just reminding me of the different awesome things that we have. Camping and fishing, yes. Everyone's loving those camping and fishing ones. There's hunting season ones. I think there's, yeah, honey and lemons. The lemons one was cute too. So just drawing my T in with my pencil here. Oops, first, there we go. And now I need the U, which is on, oh no, it's not, it's right here. Again, straight edge down the bottom, not worrying too much about how the letter looks, because they could be looking like they're crooked, but they're not. Oops, I might need an eraser for that, or we could just go over. It could be all right. Just winging it. Okay, so I love how we can just see how it's all looking with the penciled in markings before we actually mark it correctly for reals. Yep, some other people really loving those hunting ones, aren't you guys? Camping and fishing. There was more than that. Oh yeah, there's scripture verses too. The lemon and the bees, yep. Perfect. There are so many on there. So click the link up there, use my iRestore Stuff code and you'll get 10% off. Okay, the letter B going on there. There we go. So we've got but first, and now there's our center line again. We'll line up and create a little comma. So you could even use that first part of the bracket to make the comma. So what I did was I flipped over the other, so it's backwards. I used the question mark here, and I just used that little end of it to create a comma. That didn't look too bad, so we'll see how it looks right here. Just placing it wherever you think a comma might go. But first, and now we need the word coffee. It's making me thirsty for a coffee, guys. It's, what time is it here? It's 10:25 here on a Thursday morning. And I know for most of you it's probably Wednesday night. The birds are chirping outside. Don't know if you can hear those. All right, so I'm just lining up, making sure the letters are similar to that size there, but also making sure this is straight. Got my letter C. Hoping that my space is just enough. But remember, I'm just penciling it so we can always fix it up later. Okie-doke. The O. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Yeah, just hit that share button if you like people and share it with your friends or on your pages if you have a stenciling page or sign making business. People might be interested on how you do this. Getting some tips, and I'm just giving you some tips today on lining up your letters when you use these alphabet sets. And now F. Now the F's are a little bit skinnier than the O's and the C's and the other letters, so doesn't necessarily mean you need to make the gap wider between them, but as I said earlier, you do have to be a little bit mindful of just the size of your lettering when you're weighting both sides of the sign. I think this is going to look pretty good. Thinking of other things that you could do for Father's Day for a sign using this stencil, using all the letters. You could spell out Dad's name. You could make a brekkie sign, brekkie in bed. What do the dads in your family like? You could make it a sign that's something they like. Or just make a sign for your kitchen. Okay, we've nearly finished lining up all our letters here. Got our E, and just to finish it off, yeah, so we've got a fairly good gap there, so it hasn't worked out. It's worked out pretty good. So there is a room just right here for that exclamation mark on the end, because we all need to exclaim. But first, coffee. Okay, so lining that up, it's a little bit longer than the E. Once again, it's meant to look handwritten. So here we go, I'll turn that up the right way for you so you can see it. So there I have penciled out our coffee sign. You can see how it will sort of look. Now when you look carefully, where's an example of the B? I think there it is. We've got those little gaps in the letters at the top. In the R, you know, where the stencil joins and the T. You can see my little dots above the T is where my centre line, where I marked my centre line for my word to go across. And there's little gaps in the O. So we're going to fill those in right now because I'm not using paint today. I'm going to be using Sharpie to just make that black line and make it really stand out. And you could use paint if you wanted to, and I'm going to just go over it by hand. Hopefully my hand's steady enough and I'm not too nervous here in front of like hundreds of people. But this is one way that I do like to do signs, is actually tracing on there and then going over it in Sharpie. It works really well with the black Sharpie, and in fact I'm just going to put my glasses on so I work a little bit better when I can see things. Okay, just holding your hand really still. Now this Sharpie feels a little bit thin, and I'm hoping that's not going to bleed, but the paint is quite, yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of bleeding. Let me just try a little bit thicker Sharpie, see if this one's any thicker. There we go. Yeah, so now I can just actually, instead of having those gaps between the B, I can actually join the gaps. Just making sure you can see that there. And going right in and right the way around. So in a minute I'll show you how you can do this same sort of idea on some gift tags. So if you need a last minute gift tag idea for Dad. So when that's completely dry, you would of course go through and just erase any pencil lines that are showing. But really the Sharpie is much wider than the pencil line, so I'm going right over it exactly. The only pencil lines that will be on the board then are where I've marked the centre line. But just make sure you don't use the eraser when you've first put your Sharpie on there, because you may smudge it. You'll have to wait till it's completely dry. I would give it at least a couple of hours. Oops, I couldn't see. And our comma. You could hand do that comma also. You don't have to use the question mark. You could just do it by hand. Of course, some of you may have really neat writing and be able to do this whole thing by hand. But I am so grateful for Essential Stencils who come to our rescue so we can make beautiful signs and not have to worry about my lettering going wonky. Now I can see that as I'm using my right hand and I'm going over my letters here, I actually am causing a little bit of smudging on the pencil that's in front of me as I'm moving forward. So not sure what else you can do about that, apart from what I could have done is put a piece of paper down and done it like this. So there we go. We always think of these ideas when it's too late, and I'm nearly finished the word. But that is another top tip for you, because it was looking a little bit smudgy, which then makes it a bit dirty looking. And just that exclamation mark. There we go. How's that? So I've got a bright pink eraser. Hopefully it doesn't erase and make pink lines on my board. But my other pencil marking is too close to that T, so I won't get that first. But how's that? And that Sharpie just makes it really crisp lines. It looks still hand drawn, but again, it covers over the pencil. So there's a little fun gift idea. And I'll go over afterwards and just, when that's completely dry, I will erase any other little smudges that are pencil marks around there. So the similar thing that you can do with your gift tags. So you know our wooden tag sets that you can get from Essential Stencil. That's another thing you can drop into the shop and get. I don't have them right close by. You can use them to trace around and make these cute gift tags, and I've just punched a hole in the top of them. So we could make a gift tag for Dad. Let me just pop that there, and we'll do that. That is a super quick thing to do. So what I'll do again is I'll just use the pencil to outline my letters. Now what I'm going to do for this one, I could go backwards, but I think I'll just go forwards. I'm going to use the hashtag, and we'll do hashtag Dad. I think we've got plenty of room here. So again, it's on black paper, but if you're using a lead pencil, you can quite easily see the lines on that. Can you see those there? Let me see. There you go. So you can see your lines on the with the pencil. Hashtag DAD. Oh, it is a bit trickier to see the lines right, through the mylar, the plastic, the stencil. So I just have to kind of lift and look at it carefully to make sure we're still on the right track. But it looks cute. The DA, not too bad. I think I'm getting a bit low there. I could have gone a little bit higher with that one. Let me just change that, okay? See, it's just pencil. We can erase it. Lift my A again. Lift my A a little bit higher. It was looking a bit low. Okay, and the D at the end. Just tracing over the letters. And you could actually, trace over this with the Sharpie, but you will, number one, you'll put the Sharpie on your stencil, then you have to clean it off. Oh, that D is looking a little bit too far away. I'm going to erase that too. But it's you could do it that way, tracing the Sharpie directly onto the board. That's one way you could do it. But I don't know, I felt like it was good to be able to join those little joins in the gap. So just bringing that a little bit closer. Let's see if that's closer. But this is a super quick, fun gift tag idea for Dad. Ooh, no. Stencil's getting stuck. Okay, so I'm going to use one of these white pens. And I'm just going to practice on here. Hopefully that will show up nicely and my pen isn't running out on me, which would be highly likely right here. So we're just going to trace over that. Oh, it's coming out a little bit too light. Sometimes with these pens they're a bit temperamental. I'm yet to find a really, really good white marker, chalk marker, or whatever you call it, pen that goes nicely on black card. The other idea I have over here is one of those that's a silver one. So we could do a silver Dad. There we go. And I'm just tracing over those letters that we've marked in pencil. So again, you could use the white, but I think that silver is standing out very nicely. Whoop. If it's too thin, we can just go over it, make it a little bit thicker. Add a bit of width to those letters, but there you go. Hashtag Dad. How cool is that? So that's a really cute idea. You can just add a little bit of string to the top of that, make a cute gift tag for Dad for Father's Day. You could make him a coffee sign. So you can grab him his coffee first thing in the morning, kids. And yeah, I hope that's really been helpful for you to learn how to space out your letters, use a piece of paper, measure it all out, write out your letters, measure back half the letters, forward half the letters, spacing them all out.